the 1940s, the sheer alliance of the Soviet Union and the United States of America turned into the greatest rivalry in history. The nations were done with the war and bloodshed. They needed an end to this era, which was only possible if there existed a superpower. To be the one, American, British, and Canadian authorities launched a secret nuclear development program, but a scientist turned spy betrayed them. Klaus Fuchs is a spy who stole the secrets of Project Manhattan, and this is the tale of his betrayal. Like all events in history, men fighting for power became a worldwide exhibition of strength, money, propaganda, and espionage. A little after the end of World War II, a decade-long struggle of becoming a nuclear power arose between the United States of America, its allies, and the Soviet Union. Sheer relations between the USA and the Soviet Union turned sour. The hustle of stopping communist agendas led to greater tragedies. One such calamity was the German scientist and spy Klaus Fuchs.
There were 3 spies that we know of that operated in Los Alamos. Of course, the most famous is Klaus Fuchs, who was a German physicist.
Klaus Fuchs's importance in American history and his stories of espionage are deeply rooted in World War II. When Americans thought of allying with the United Kingdom and Canada to become a superpower and end World War II, they started a secret nuclear development program named Project Manhattan, a project that united researchers, scientists, and engineers in one place, and they created the world's first atomic bombs. A lot happened during Project Manhattan. Some secrets of this project were transferred to the Soviet Union, which helped them become the second nuclear power in just 3 years, even after they stated this.
Мы, советские люди, не связываем своих расчетов на будущее с использованием атомных бомб.
In 1942, the research program started, which was named Manhattan Engineer District. It brought together some of the most remarkable physicists, including J. Robert Oppenheimer, Enrico Fermi, and many others like Niels Bohr to work on this project. These brilliant minds worked with delicacy on various aspects of atomic bomb design and the methods to purify significant radioactive materials such as uranium that can be used for the development of nuclear bombs. To test the feasibility and the level of destruction of atomic bombs, the first attempt was made on July 16, 1945, in New Mexico, which was named the Trinity Test.
Our alarm set for 2:30 a.m. Ed would leave at 3:15. We did not want to allow much time. We did not want to say goodbye.
The test was a success, and eventually, in August 1945, Americans shelled atomic bombs on 2 Japanese cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and put an end to the dreadful era of World War II. Now, whether the Manhattan Project was an attack on the morals and ethics of civil rights is up for debate. Klaus Fuchs, however, played a huge role in making atomic weapons accessible to the rest of the world. Fleeing persecution in post-war Germany, Fuchs fled to England and began working as a research assistant and slowly but surely climbed up the ladder, earning his PhD in science. This is where history becomes blurry. In 1942, after receiving his British citizenship, he became a part of a team of scientists that were joining the Project Manhattan. By signing the Official Secrets Act, Fuchs, who was attentive to the communist cause, began to pass information back to Soviet GRU operatives. It is from here that Klaus Fuchs's espionage took full swing. In 1944, Harry Gold, a KGB agent, contacted Fuchs, and shortly after the exchange, Fuchs was planted in Los Angeles Theoretical Division under Hans Bethe and Edward Teller. It was here that Fuchs contributed to calculations for the creation of Fat Man, an implosion bomb. He continued relentlessly, passing information and details of the atomic bomb back to the Soviet Union with Harry Gold as his main point of contact. Klaus Fuchs's main contribution to the creation of the atomic and hydrogen bomb was calculating the energy yield of an atomic explosion. For 3 years, from 1944 to 1947, Fuchs was responsible for designing equations and techniques that would be used to build the first successful atomic bomb. His other contribution, the one where he leaked information to the Soviet Union, is believed to have led the communist state to develop the atomic bomb a year or 2 before anticipated.
This changes everything.
This was the beginning of the Cold War. It revealed exactly what the Soviet intelligence services had been up to for all to see.
Whoever had the bomb at the end of the war would have been in a position to police the world.
As Fuchs knew well, it would not be an easy task. In the year 1944, passing information back and forth was more challenging than it is today, and meeting in person was necessary to pass the information along without any hiccups. Klaus would meet the GRU agent and hand over documents containing the groundbreaking discoveries that were being made during the Manhattan Project. The FBI and MI5 were both starting to get anxious now. It was a matter of state security and worldwide chaos. The leak about Fuchs's espionage could accidentally release the news of new nuclear weaponry into the world, causing the case to go from one of quietly neutralizing the threat, aka Fuchs, to one of global panic.
Terrible shock, of course. And suddenly it turned out he was not only just a spy, but the spy. I mean, he was the number one spy.
The agencies needed to wrap up the Fuchs drama as quickly and as quietly as possible. The lack of evidence on Fuchs made it difficult to convict the alleged spy for the leaking of information, and this caused major clashes between America and Britain. The case was taking difficult turns, so the MI5 called in a brilliant spy catcher of the times, Jim Scarden. Scarden was called in to interrogate Fuchs and his associate, the Russian spy named Sonia. According to accounts by the FBI and MI5, Scarden would draw out confessions from spies using the classic good cop tactic by befriending the spies and getting details from casual conversation. His time with Sonia and Fuchs was futile, and none of them confessed to the allegations against them. Cool and calm confidence is what got Fuchs through 3 grilling interrogations, where he gave experts a tough time in trying to draw out a confession, or the semblance of one from his thin lips. Scarden was a courteous investigator and took great interest in what the spy had to say. Historically, it was this keenness to know the man behind the crimes that got him his high rate of successful confessions. Fuchs, however, revealed nothing. That was at least the 4th time he sat down with Jim Scarden. It took time, but by virtue of patience, Klaus was finally ready to tell his side of the truth in 1950. Scarden sat down with the spy, and through the morning, Fuchs recited events to the investigators, but neither of them proved he had been leaking information, nor hinted at his guilty actions. Once again, Scarden adopted a gentle approach and invited the spy out to an elegant lunch at the Queen's Hotel in the historic town of Abingdon. What followed lunch was a confession of extreme enormity, a confession that sent ruling shockwaves through the world. Klaus Fuchs laid down the scheme he had used to transfer information to the USSR. He confessed to 7 years of spying and also opened up about the methods that were used. During his time in England, he would throw an earmarked magazine into the London garden to set up a meeting with his KGB handler. Said handler would then respond using a chalk mark on a nearby lamppost. In New York, his meeting with Harry Gold was a casual deal. He walked down East Broadway carrying a green book and a tennis ball, wearing a pair of gloves and carrying another pair, stopped and asked him for directions to Chinatown. Not only did Fuchs unburden himself by confessing, but he also expressed his surprise at the USSR's haste to detonate the first bomb 2 years earlier than expected. This came as a shock to investigators, since after a long silence the spy was suddenly in a hurry to reveal all truths. Klaus Fuchs's arrest led to 2 other spies, Ethel and Julius Rosenberg, being captured and executed in the following year. However, this new information also brought forward adverse reactions from the press and the FBI. FBI Director Edgar Hoover questioned why a communist sympathizer was allowed to work on such sensitive work with the British government, and why, after his espionage had become apparent, he was allowed to continue working. However, Fuchs was confident that his contributions and intelligence would earn him immunity, and that the world would not risk losing such a great mind. He also believed that the revelation of truth would earn him a lighter sentence, since World War II had seen the Soviets as allies, and thus, by his reasoning, they weren't exactly enemies. Due to his breach of the Official Secrets Act, Klaus was sentenced to 14 years in prison, which was the maximum for this offense. After serving years in prison, Fuchs was released on June 23, 1959, and immediately left for East Germany. Fuchs's speculation about a lenient sentence was proven right, since he served only 9 years before moving to Germany, where he continued to work in the field of science and married an old friend of his. The government of East Germany granted him citizenship and appointed him the post of Deputy Director of the Central Institute for Nuclear Research at the Helmholtz-Zentrum-Dresden-Rossendorf laboratory. Eventually, he became a dominant member of the East German Academy of Sciences and a 1979 recipient of the Karl Marx Medal of Honor, the highest distinction in the German Democratic Republic, GDR, for exceptional merit. Klaus Fuchs died at the age of 77 in 1988 before the fall of the Berlin Wall, when the entire story finally came in full circle. Klaus's motives and intentions may still be unclear, but close associates report that he believes no one state should possess the secrets to nuclear weapons in order for there to be a balance and for the world to be a safer place. In his own way, the communist scientist helped the spread of atomic bombs around the world way earlier than it would have had he not intervened. Giving the USSR access to top-secret information allowed other countries to produce their own nuclear assets, thus balancing the power dynamics. While Fuchs's leaking of the atomic weapons secrets is now out in the open, many of his other career milestones as a spy are still uncovered. It is possible that Fuchs somehow made the world a better place to live in, free from the fear of cowering under a superior master. His life and work have been highlighted in numerous movie adaptations that reenact and dramatize the propaganda, scheming, spying, and deceit that followed the Cold War. Let us know in the comments if Fuchs really backstabbed the Americans or did a lifetime favor to the Soviets. Consider subscribing if you liked this video.